All right, so welcome back to the price tag of leadership with Joseph Ganchar in Ganchar Enterprise. This is going to be one of these unique series that actually will go into one area and then it's going to cascade into other areas, and then we're going to come back into our main category and then continue on. So it's going to be a very interesting series because this one is just going to be continuing on part 4, part 5. However, when you take these things into consideration, they are, I would consider, game changers. And as time will unfold, I will reveal a little bit more of what is all entailed in all of that. So key areas to distinguish yourself as a leader. I know for myself, I found myself very stagnant at a decent level, but not a very satisfied level. It kind of got me into the arenas where, like, okay, like I knew I could actually be in a room and I could be able to be the thermostat, not the thermometer, to an extent of just understanding one dynamic or one dimension of the room. But I couldn't actually really evolve and develop the skills that are required in order to necessarily work the room. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to slowly distinguish yourself in how to do that, not through talking, but through prioritizing. It's a little bit of a different approach here. Work with me, but this is what's going to happen. So it's not talent that separates leaders. It's consistency, planning, and presence. So how does this all come into fruition? If you're going to be consistent, you be consistent at just the smallest things. If this is a completely different journey for you, why? Because when you're going down this journey of consistency is probably, in some cases, to some people, the most mundane thing. In other areas, it is the greatest thing ever. The reason being is because it is guaranteed. Consistency. If you're able to be consistent and persistent, you're going to be able to distinguish yourself substantially from many other people. Now, if you add planning and presence into that, you're going to be able to change your landscape. And it's going to be very impressive to see. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen, though, slowly, in amounts that you're going to be able to handle. If you're able to tap into an area or a situation or circumstance, it's going to allow you to actually go into somewhere where you're going to be able to be, okay, I've done this before, but I'm a little bit over my head. You will continuously understand, I have to go back to a certain point in where I'm able to realign myself, not to be in a comfort zone type of area, but to be in a place where you're able to actually understand the room in the sense of, okay, I got to be able to kind of read things to a certain degree, but that doesn't mean I go overboard and all of a sudden take myself out, per se, because it's not the big things that'll take you out, it's the little things. Okay, that's a guarantee. Unfortunately, that's happened to me a couple of times. So set your priorities. What does this mean, set your priorities? Well, setting your priorities based on importance, not urgency. So when I'm planning, I know, for an example, I'll plan in some cases that there are certain things that I know that I have to do on certain time frames in certain deadlines, and I've actually have them in my calendar for the next 5, 10, actually more like 10 years. And it seems a little excessive, but the thing is, though, is that if I'm able to accomplish certain things in certain areas of my life, it's not because I continuously just said, okay, I'm just going to do that. No, I set it up. I have reminders. I have things in place. It's kind of in essentially you're be much more proactive in order to allowing yourself to come forward and say, okay, this is what my commitment is. This is how I'm going to do this. How am I going to project myself into that area? You have to be able to be consistent of importance, not urgency. If this place is falling apart and it's on fire, yeah, that's urgency to get out. But it isn't important for you to grab and move your whole house. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so you have to prioritize importance in the sense of what are my most key elements of my assets that I have to have with me in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish. Okay, so food for thought there. Easy to list, difficult to execute, and tested in consistency. See, here's the thing. When you have your priorities list, it's one thing to do it. It's another thing to execute it. And it is completely different to realm in the ability to consistently do this over now, years ago, when I say years ago, I'm not talking about 50 or 100 years ago. I'm really only talking about 15 or so years ago, when you're able to say, what is our 5-year, 10 and 20-year mark on what we want to accomplish as an organization or what we want to do. You see, here's the thing. Technology is advanced in such a way where all of a sudden you're coming to a point where you're setting goals, literally 1 month, 6 month, 1 year, and 2-year increments now, because things are moving so rapidly and changing so swiftly that it's very difficult to even predict what's going to happen in the next 5 years or the 10-year mark. The reason why, take into consideration just what we have all in our hands is a cell phone. Okay, so 10 years development, what's going to happen? And I can almost, for some strange reason, sense that they're going to be saying, here's a set of glasses, put these on, and then you're going to be able to have, like, I don't know, some kind of a glove or a sensor, and you're going to be going like this. And next thing you know, you're like doing, it's like, what the heck is going on? But that's basically what we're coming to, and it's not far away. So understanding that you're still able to list the things of importance, execute them, is one thing. It's difficult to actually follow through on that because of knowing what's going to happen is the unknown. But you got to be able to actually execute this over a long period of time. So ask yourself, do you plan ahead? When do you plan your next month? I've heard in some cases, if you know what you're going to be up against in certain areas of your life, plan even 2 years in advance. Okay. Or plan 3 weeks in advance. I don't like to just get up and meet around and whatever and hang out with somebody and there's nothing accomplished out of that. I find it almost insulting. You see, here's the thing. When there's certain cultures out there where they're actually in a room and you have nothing of importance to say, or you have no value to add into the room, it's actually expected that you just get up and get out. Because why are you even in there in the first place? So value the time and those that you spend it with out of the utmost respect. Always plan ahead. I have never heard of someone actually say, I planned ahead and it really let me down. I couldn't believe it, but my goodness, that was such a waste of time. Now, here's the other thing. You can say, well, I planned ahead for a group of people and, we were supposed to accomplish this and do that, and nobody showed up. Well, how did you get to the point of preparing things and notifying those people? And why did they not want to show up? You see, the biggest problem is understanding position. If you don't understand positioning, of importance and urgency and things of this nature, then what's the point of it all? Like, really, like, are we just here to have a good time? No, let's sit down, be productive, effective, and efficient, and actually accomplish something. Don't have a meeting just to have a meeting. You got to have a meeting to have a meeting in order to execute something great. Okay. So then what do you do to plan for your next month? Set a couple hours, in the last week. Sometimes it doesn't work out where you're like, okay, I feel a little bit of a pinch, if I'm at the tail end of the last part of the week of the month, and what am I doing next week? So maybe it takes a little bit more planning in the sense of understanding, okay, it works out better if I'm actually on the front end of the last week of the month, just in case if there's something that I may have missed, or maybe I could actually readjust coming into that next month. So understanding where you're setting yourself up for an actual situation that following week into that following month, so that you're able to be fully prepared and aware of what's going on. And now you're going to be able to achieve those things. It could be a meeting, it could be an unexpected event. You have no idea. But if you're planning it and blocking your time accordingly, and then you're able to situate it in such a way where you're able to actually say, hey, I have this time slot. Okay, let's work this right here. And then off you go. Okay. So calendar your priorities. So here's the thing. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I should make a calendar, but here's the other thing. If you look at this illustration here, you also have to have boundaries. So having a personal and a professional calendar are great things. Don't actually merge them all into one. Personal, if you have a significant other, a partner, your spouse, so many different terms these days. I'll just say if you're with some person that can use a device and access their, phone or their other device, and you guys can, or the both of you can actually choreograph and time plan and execute and develop such things so that you're able to be on top of your calendar and understand, okay, this is what's happening this week, this month, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2, 5 years down the road. Not even that much, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to really emphasize the point here. Know your schedules, understand the plannings of what you need to execute. Okay, so what does it look like professionally? What does it look like personally? See, I find it this is just me. I would find it very disrespectful in a sense. Well, I have a dentist appointment. Just tell me you have an appointment. I don't want, I don't know if every work environment warrants, personal explanation. Sometimes it's better not to know. Personally, for myself, I prefer not to know. Just tell me you have an appointment. And if you need whatever time off, then take the time off. But keep your personal. It gets very messy very quickly when all of a sudden you intertwine certain things. And unfortunately, in some organizations, they don't understand this. And so they can be to their detriment. And it unfortunately has. So are you prioritizing? Are your priorities reflecting clearly in your schedule? Just make sure as you can see, like there's a barbed wire fence, there's boundaries in place. Make sure that you're able to actually execute things in such a way where you're able to move forward so that you're like, okay, here I am. I'm going down here. A bunch of series of meetings, let's just say. And meetings will always go over, or some will get short. If you're in a meeting, respect the persons involved. Don't be talking for talking. Just be like, okay, this is how we got to do this. And then you can kind of essentially hold your material, if you want to call it that, until the next encounter. And then that way it keeps things fresh and going and moving. Versus very respectful of my time, very respectful in, in our encounter and in our interactions. Things were done very well and finished very well and continue to elevate very well. Okay. Something to consider like that. Okay. So make sure that you have your priorities reflected clearly in your schedule. Color code them. Red for, utmost urgent, has to be like, this is an absolute. And then you could have like green for like, just like, okay, this is flagship stuff. Here we go. blue is like your appointments, yellow is, some type of a concern, things of that nature. Just understand how to put things in place where you're able to fully execute them. Do you have safeguards or accountability built into your routines? Just make sure that you have notifications and things of that nature priming you so that you're able to also maintain your cadence throughout the day. And then you're able to continue on and be effective and productive in whatever you put your hands to. If that's just in potentially in your workplace, in organizing and prioritizing tasks and whatever, or are you a small business owner? Are you a big business owner? Are you a manager? Are you business developer? Are you whatever you are? Just make sure that you have something to hold you into a cadence. Ideally, if you have an assistant, they are phenomenal. If the endless excuses or verbiage for interruptions is limitless if you have an assistant. So don't ever discredit, no matter what, your assistant's of value when it comes to cases like that. Prepare for the unexpected. You see, here's the thing. How often are you going to see these types of cars? It's very unexpected. And don't be thinking unexpected is a bad thing. Unexpected could be a great thing as well. So understanding what this looks like, understanding how this can develop and how it can strengthen. This is one of the ways where you can really set yourself apart when you're able to be prepared for the unexpected, because leading people means dealing with unpredictability. Someone comes in thinking that the house is on fire. Meanwhile, they just forgot to get dressed. Okay. It's just that simple. So allow margin for overruns without losing your schedule. So making sure that you're able to have small intermittent breaks in between each meeting, and then you're able to actually calibrate things accordingly so that you're able to switch things and adjust things so that you're able to continually maximize the opportunities that you have. Give yourself enough flexibility, but not too much. So just make sure that you have maybe 15 minutes in between, interactions. Or is it, hey, you know what? I'm intentionally going to bump myself up where I have maybe less than 5 minutes in between, just because I know of the type of people that I'm going to be dealing with. So just understand all those moving parts. So just a closing insight. You see, you can never actually take anything for granted, because great leadership emerges from preparation, structure, and agility. See, understanding the whole prepared angle, but where's your structure? Do you have your calendar and everything else ready to go? And do you actually have the ability to move things around in a somewhat fluid manner if need be and in case of emergency? But you really don't want to leave a whole lot of room for that. Lead your time before your time ends you, okay? And then plan as a leader is a present leader. So when you're looking at lead your time, make sure you allocate it. You actually time block it. You actually give it a place and a purpose. Otherwise, that will just dissolve into who knows what. See, a planned leader is a present leader in the sense of when you're talking to somebody, show them a little bit of interest, lean in a little bit, understand a few of these body language things. I know I've unfortunately have been in a very unconventional upbringing, or maybe it is normal, but it's very chaotic. I didn't learn body language. I didn't learn a lot of common sense things. It's kind of like this guy's kind of rough around the edges. In fact, he's extremely rough around the edges. And that was because of the way how I had to survive growing up. However, that doesn't mean that you can't change. If you can't change, you can't adapt. If you can't adapt, you're not going to thrive. And if you're not going to thrive, you're going to be left behind. So with this all being said, Next week, we got the price of tag of leadership part 5. We'll be back 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern time. So until next time, work hard, stay humble, and have a great evening.